All right, good evening and welcome. My name is Sydney, and I will be guiding you through a 30 to 40-minute gentle stretch, all levels yoga class. We're going to keep this fairly low to the ground and more of a restorative practice with some dynamic movement, and then transition into slower, more gentle stretches toward the end of the practice. For tonight's class, you may want to have 1 to 2 blocks on hand. And I think that's all the props we're going to need. Of course, always feel free to have pillows, blankets, yoga straps, whatever on hand may help you make the poses work for your body better. And as always, please listen to your body. You and your body know best. Always listen to your body and modify it. Never try and force your body into a certain shape if it's not good for your body. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get started with tonight's class. We're actually going to come to lie down and take a restorative bridge for our first pose. So I definitely want you to have one of those yoga blocks. If you don't have a yoga block, grab a couple of pillows or a rolled up blanket, and that can serve the same purpose. And so our yoga block has 3 heights. We have height number 1, and then 2, and then 3 is the highest. For this pose, I want you to either be on number 1 or number 2, not the highest. Because if it's on the highest, we can have too much arching in the back, and we can also be kind of unstable, unbalanced. So come to lie down. Bring the soles of the feet flat on the mat. Press into your heels. Lift the hips and lengthen your hips toward your heels, creating some length in your spine. And then take your block or your pillow or bolster and take it on the first or the second height under the sacrum. So you're going to find a place where the block feels comfortable under your lower back. This is what it looks like on height number 1. You're welcome to stay here. Or if you've tried this before, you can go to height number 2. If you have scoliosis, any other spinal conditions, spinal disc injury, or just sensitivity of the spine, please stay on height number 1 because we want to make sure we're keeping the arching in the back to a minimum to prevent any injuries. And of course, you're always welcome to grab a blanket, roll that up, or use a bolster or a pillow instead. So once you're in your restorative bridge, the knees should be over the ankles and the feet are hip width apart. And then you can bring the hands to rest on the belly or the ribs, or send your hands out to your sides, palms face up. Perhaps you walk the shoulders a little ways under the back body. And then begin to take some long, slow, deep breaths here. Beginning to slow the breath down. And just landing in your body and in this moment of your practice. Make sure the chin is pointing up to the sky, not dropping too far to the chest, but think about sending the chin further up to the sky. If you're looking for more of a chest and heart opening, you have an option to send the arms up overhead or the hands out to the side of the body, whatever's comfortable here. And we'll just work on some deep breathing, finding a heart opening, shoulder opening. Of course, if this is uncomfortable in your spine, just remove your prop, bring the hips down to your mat, and stay right here. Very good. Perhaps it's hard to begin your practice tonight with stillness, especially for those of us who are used to moving pretty quickly. at the beginning of our yoga practice. So it can be nice to change it up and start with some stillness and then move into the dynamic portion. Very good. 2 or 3 more breaths here. If you haven't, make sure you relax the glutes, avoid clenching the glute muscles. Just for a moment, allow the legs to totally relax while keeping the knees pointing up to the ceiling. Very good. Now, if you have a prop, go ahead and lift the hips, move that to the side, and slowly lower the back body down to your mat, 1 vertebra at a time. Slow as you can go, and draw the knees into the chest, and give yourself a little hug. And then either roll over to one side and press yourself up to sitting, or option to rock and roll a couple of times. Once you're up sitting, come to cross-legged, roll over the knees or legs if that's comfortable, and then back up a little bit, coming more toward the back of our mat. Bring the knees as wide as the mat, toes to touch. Option to bring a block or support under your ankles, or just sit back into child's pose. Bring the forehead down to the mat and walking the fingertips a little bit forward, but bending the elbows. So we're resisting the urge to reach forward, rather backing the elbows up and bending them. Think about allowing the shoulder blades to spill off the back body. And if you have any spinal condition or any disc problems in your spine, take the knees wide. Otherwise, you have an option to bring the knees together if that's more comfortable. So we just did a gentle back bend. Now we're coming into a gentle forward fold, just to counter that back bend and neutralize the spine again. Press into the palms of the hands and walk your hands back toward your knees. Coming to sit up on the heels. And then we'll inhale, reach the right arm up to the ceiling. It doesn't have to go all the way. That's just the intention. Perhaps it stops here or here. That's perfectly okay. But open up to the right side. And then on your exhale, thread the needle. Send the right arm under the left. Bring the right shoulder down to the mat. And walk the left fingertips forward. Option to keep the left arm reaching forward. Or bring the left hand to the right hip crease. Coming into a bind. If you come into this bind, it's going to create more of a shoulder opening. Just finding whatever's comfortable. And then taking deep breaths here. On your next inhale, bring the left hand back near your face and reach the right arm back up to the ceiling. And exhale, release, hand comes back to the mat. Same thing on the other side. Inhale, reach the left arm up toward the ceiling. Doesn't matter how far it goes. And exhale, thread the needle. Left arm goes under the right. Bring the left cheek down to the mat. Right hand can either go forward, or you may want to look at me if you didn't see the bind on the other side. You have an option to send the right arm over and behind, taking hold of the left hip crease, or just the left side of your pants waistband if if the hip crease is not available today. Very good. If you're in the bind, release, bring the right hand back near your face. And on your inhale, reach back up to the sky with the left hand. And exhale, bring it back. Coming into tabletop, we're going to transition to hands and knees now. Stacking the hips over the knees and the wrists under the shoulders, or the shoulders over the wrists. Engage the core, draw the belly up and in a little bit. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Press into all 10 fingertips. Spread the fingers wide. And then on your inhale, drop the belly, arch the back, send the heart forward. Chin is parallel to the floor. Cow pose. And exhale, beginning at the tailbone, round through the spine, draw the chin into the chest, engage the navel, cat pose. Couple more times on your own, in time with your breath. Inhale, coming into that arched back position. And exhaling, we round the spine. And next, inhale, come back to neutral. Exhale, reset, tabletop position. And then on your next inhale, send the right foot back, spin the toes down, drop the right hip in line with the left. Imagine you're pressing that right foot into an imaginary wall. Press away from the mat with your right hand, send the left fingertips forward, extend through the crown of the head, through that left hand, and through the heel. So imagine you're being pulled in two opposite directions. Inhale, engage the core, draw the belly up and in, and exhale, release. Extend the left foot, toes spin down, drop the left hip in line with the right, send the right fingertips forward, press away from the mat through the left hand, resist the urge to collapse in the left shoulder, push away from the mat, inhale here, navel stays engaged, and exhale, release. Twice more on each side, inhaling opposite fingers and toes, and exhaling to release. One more time on each side. Beautiful. When you're finished, I'll meet you back in tabletop. We'll walk the palms one palm length forward, spin the fingertips out, elbow creases shine forward, curl the toes under, inhale, and exhale, press up and back, downward facing dog. Pedaling through the feet, first down dog of the day, so we want to lengthen through the calves and the hamstrings, taking the feet wide, bending into the knees. Remember, the heels never have to touch the ground. That's the intention, but nothing is achieved when the heels touch the ground. Nothing magical happens when the heels come to the ground. I used to think something magnificent would happen, but it turns out it doesn't. So release any expectation of needing to bring the heels to the ground. And when you're ready, come to stillness. Inhale, send the right foot up, three-legged dog. Exhale, engage the core, draw the belly to the spine, knee comes to the chest, step or carry the right foot through, bring the left knee down. Coming into low lunge position, right knee is over the ankle, engage the thighs, squeeze the thighs together, inhale, reach up, low lunge. Pull your front hip back as you push your back hip forward, inhale, and exhale, bring the fingertips back to the mat. Bring the right hand inside the right foot, so on the inside of the arch, and walk the right foot off to the side of the mat. Right foot can open up toward the side of the room, coming into lizard pose. So you have a couple of options here. If this is already a good hip stretch, stay right here. Option to bring the elbows to the mat, only if that's available. Keep in mind that's deep hip stretch. And if you're looking for something in between, grab a block and bring the hands or the elbows to that block. Inhaling and exhaling here, thinking about sending the breath to the right hip crease. Not physically possible, but sometimes that intention can allow us to find more opening in the hip and the leg muscles. Very good. One more breath here. Now on your next inhale, bring the right hand on the outside of the right foot, walk the right foot back to a low lunge position, knee under ankle, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then we're gonna walk the fingertips over toward the long edge of the mat, drop the left heel, drop the right heel, toes pigeon toe slightly in, heels pointing slightly out. Go ahead and come up to adjust your stance if needed. Micro bend in the knees and coming into our forward fold. Option to stay here with the hands on the mat, or option to fold further forward. Again, a really nice place where you can bring a block into this. Just taking whatever variation feels best. Make sure you have that micro bend in the knees and the hips are coming forward to stack over the ankles. So the hips have a tendency to go backward in space. We want to send them forward a little bit. Think about lifting up through the arches of the feet. Now on your next inhale, come up to flat back. If you're already there, we'll meet you there now. Bring the hands to the hips, bend the knees a little bit more. And here I want you to take one full complete cycle of breath in and out. Very good. Now pivot the left toes open toward the back of the mat. Come up onto the right toes, pivot the right foot, drop the right knee, coming into low lunge facing the back of your mat now. So we're going to mirror what we just did facing the front. Coming into low lunge position, left knee over left ankle, engage the core, squeeze the inner thighs together, sweep the arms up and overhead, low lunge. Think about rounding through your lower back, not physically possible. Sorry, it's a little dark here with the lighting, but hopefully you can see that we're coming into a low lunge with a fairly straight back. We're not overarching in the low back. Draw the shoulders down and away from the ears. And exhale, bring the fingertips back down to the ground. Left hand comes on the inside of the left arch. Walk the left foot over to the left edge of the mat, and then coming into your lizard pose. So taking any of the variations we talked about on the first side, you can stay up on your hands, you can grab a block, or come all the way down on your elbows. Core stays active here, so we're not dumping into this pose, but we're keeping a strong navel and pressing into the top of the back foot. On your next inhale, come back up if you are folded forward. Walk the left foot back into low lunge position, Anjaneyasana. Bring the left hand on the outside of the left foot. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and then transition to your wide-legged forward fold position again. So we're facing the long edge of the mat, pigeon toeing the feet slightly, heels slightly out, toes slightly in, bend through the knees, just a micro bend. Press into the outside edges of the feet, grow long through the spine. And exhale, option to fold forward, definitely not necessary. Weight into the balls of the feet. Inhale, if you're folded forward, come up to flat back. And exhale. And then pivot the right toes open toward the front of the mat, spin on the back heel or lift the back heel, pivot on the back foot, bend through the back knee, that's your left knee, and step the left foot up to meet the right. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Feet can be hip width apart or flush together. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands come to the shins or the thighs, draw the shoulder blades down and back, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up slowly, engage the core, stacking one vertebra at a time. Head is the last thing to come up. Inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samastiti. Beautiful. Bring the feet hip width apart, or sorry, not hip width apart, but bring them as wide as your mat and allow your toes to spill off the edges of the mat. Heels pointing in, toes pointing out. And then begin to lower yourself down into your yogi squat, your malasana. So for some of us, this is going to feel good. For some of us, this may be too much on the knees. If that's the case, grab your block on the second height and bring it under the sits bones to find a little bit more of an opening and a little bit more of a support to find a longer back. Both variations are going to create a great hip opening, so don't worry about that. Taking whatever variation feels good. And then in your variation of Malasana, yogi squat, press the elbows into the knees and the knees into the elbows. Think about lengthening the sits bones down toward the ground and growing tall through the crown of the head. One more breath here. Lift up through the arches of the feet. And then we'll bring the hands behind the bum, sit the hips down, coming into a seated position. Send the legs out long in front of you. Flex the feet. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, grow tall. And exhale, forward fold, Paschimottanasana, your forward fold. So if you can reach the feet, great. If not, bring the hands to the knees, to the shins, to the ankles, wherever is comfortable. Also, please think about bending the knees in order to keep a long spine and hinge from the hips. Make sure you're resisting the urge to reach forward, but allowing the shoulders to draw down the back body. And you keep a long spine here. Inhale, grow longer. And exhale, allow the chin to round into the chest. And just noticing how you feel in this forward fold. Perhaps how the energy has shifted compared to the beginning of class. Maybe it's a little easier to sit still now. Maybe not. Just notice how the body, how the energy, how the mind feels without judgment. Allowing what is to be without worry about the past or the future. Just enjoying this present moment. Very good. On your next inhale, begin to roll up one vertebra at a time, moving slowly. Head is the last thing to come up. Very good. Bring the soles of the feet to the ground, scoot the hips forward, Reach forward, and then we'll slowly roll down one vertebra at a time, coming to lie down. Draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, a little hug. And then bring the soles of the feet to the mat. Lift the hips, lengthen the sits bones toward your heels. And then send your feet out long, or your legs out long, feet out wide, toes spilling off to the sides of the mat. Hands come to your sides, palms face up. Walk the shoulder blades a little bit under your back body. Allow the eyes to come closed. Moving into our final asana, our shavasana. If you're practicing any type of breath control, your ujjayi or any other form of pranayama, just let that go now. Allow the breathing to return to a completely natural, completely uncontrolled state. Relaxing through the entire body. Relaxing any tension in the jaw, the shoulders, the hips, the glutes, the ankles. Just surrender. Making sure you're surrendering on the elements of the subtler body as well. The forehead, the jaw, the eyes. Completely allowing the body to dissolve into a relaxed state, excuse me. Then if you're watching the recording of this video, you have an option to stay here as long as you like. And I encourage you to take as long of a shavasana as your schedule permits. But if you must move on, begin to deepen the breath. Bring the awareness back to the body, feeling the pressure of the floor beneath you, the weight of your clothes on your body, the temperature of the air in contrast with the skin. Then without opening the eyes, become aware of the lights or the sounds that are surrounding you. Then begin to deepen the breath even more and find a gentle movement in your fingers and your toes. And allow that motion to extend up through the wrists, the elbows, the ankles, and the knees. Perhaps you take a big stretch, reaching the arms overhead, and then drawing the knees into the chest, roll over onto one side, and cushioning the head with your bottom bicep. Eyes stay closed. Take a big, deep breath, the biggest breath you've taken today. And exhale, release. And keep the eyes closed. Press into the top hand into the floor. Press yourself up to a seated position. can be kneeling or cross-legged. Bring the hands to heart center, palms pressed together, Anjali Mudra. Dip the chin, but keep back of the spine long. Inhale here. And then exhale through the mouth. And twice more. Inhale. Open mouth, exhale. And once more. Inhale. And forceful exhale through the mouth. When you're ready, begin to blink the eyes open. Taking in the floor and the mat beneath you. And when you're ready, lifting the gaze to come back to the room around you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I honor your time. I honor your presence. Namaste. All my love and light.